Have you ever handled a pistol before?
No. Okay.
As Hurricane Irma moves towards Florida, listen to this story. It's a race against Mother Nature. As a monster storm approached Puerto Rico yesterday, a Delta Airlines jet made a daring round-trip flight from New York to San Juan. The return flight leaving Puerto Rico's capital as Irma's winds were roaring into the airport. All the action monitored in real time on a flight tracking app and Twitter. The jet left New York at 8 a.m., arriving at San Juan at noon in less than an hour. Delta Flight 302, with 173 passengers aboard, is back in the air. Radar tracking the jet after it took off. It was the last flight out of San Juan, showing it flying between the outer band and Irma's western edge. Look at that. Unbelievable. Finally, outracing the hurricane and then flying safely to New York. And guess who was on that plane? Karen and Jeff Hungzo were on board, and they join me now. It sounds pretty dramatic. I imagine it was. I don't know if you saw the imagery there of it flying between the bands there. You guys were literally racing against a hurricane. So tell me about how you found out and the evacuation and all that.
Well, as far as seeing the radar screen, we didn't see anything like that, thankfully, until after we had landed, after we got back in New York City. So having that, could you repeat the question, the evacuation?
Yeah, I just want to know how you guys found out and what made you rush off to the airport, because this was the last flight out.
Yeah, we actually moved our flight to that 1 o'clock time slot. We had no thought that it would actually happen. So we spent the morning looking at the departure flight at the airport, excuse me, at the hotel, trying to figure out why every flight was canceled but ours. And ours was going to go out an hour after the airport was supposed to close. So once we got confirmation that flight was going out, we scrambled to get out of the hotel as quickly as we could. Here's what happened, and this was interesting, and this is why I appreciate what the people of Puerto Rico did for us. We couldn't get a cab from the hotel. So that general manager, within 1 minute, was able to get somebody that could drive us to the airport.
In his personal car.
Yep. And actually, the person actually stayed at the airport also until we actually were able to call him and verify that the flight was going to go out. So that was...
So getting to the airport was a miracle in itself.
Yeah, I thought it was remarkable.
Much less the flight, so yeah, it was quite an experience.
With everything going on, that they're able to...
So what was it like when you got on the plane and the door closed behind you? I mean, did you feel it when you were taking off? Could you feel the winds? Is it as dramatic as it sounds?
Surprisingly not as dramatic as it appears from the outside. I've seen the video of the plane taking off. It was a little bumpy on the way up, which I think we all kind of expected, knowing the winds were really picking up at the time. But boy, once we got kind of straightened out and all, we were still kind of going up into the clouds, it was pretty smooth, really.
Yeah, it was a little bumpy, but I've been on bumpier ones. The pilot did an excellent job. The crew did an excellent job, especially getting, you know how it can be on planes where it just seems like it seems forever to get people situated in their seats. And they really did an excellent job of hustling people in, getting them situated so that we could get going, because it was, my anxiety was it was a race against the weather and just the timing of I knew that if we didn't get out in the next couple minutes, we weren't going to get out at all.
How were people reacting around you? Were you guys anxious? I know sometimes when it's bumpy and you land, people applaud. How were people reacting around you?
Oh yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think initially there was that anxiety of let's get going. But I think as Karen was going to tell you, when we landed, everybody just burst into applause, and that's the first time I've ever been on a flight where people were that ecstatic to get back on land, especially in the United States.
We were all so relieved just to leave Puerto Rico. Most of us were just thinking about that, the fact that we were getting out. We had no idea that the flight was as close to the hurricane as it actually was. Thankfully, because I think we all would have had a rougher time on that flight had we known. So
definitely.
Yeah. Usually when you're above the clouds, you can sort of see the storms rolling in. Could you see the weather from up there?
Oh yeah. Yep, we could still see just the outer bands of the hurricane had started going across the island when we took off. So when I took video on the going out as we were flying out, and I could still see down the waves in the ocean, kind of through that sheer cloud. And I took video all the way up, just watching Irma get further and further away.
So listen, Jason Rabinowitz is an aviation writer and researcher. He monitored your flight, the flight tracking app, with live updates on Twitter, and it was trending so high that it became its own moment on Twitter. Were you guys even aware that so many people were tracking your flight?
None.
No, we had no idea until we actually landed at JFK, and then we were at our baggage claim, and there were news reporters there and wanted to talk to different people. And no, up until then, I just thought we just took off like normal. I actually thought we'd be taking off heading west to kind of skirt around it. So I had no idea until we landed, and I'm very happy I didn't know.
Until we saw the news, we didn't know that this had all gone on.
That would have been a lot more nerve-wracking.
We're a little more scared now than we were when it actually was going on.
Those darn news people. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Jeff.
No kidding.
You're so welcome. Thank you.
We're glad you're safe. Thank you for joining us. When we come back, more on our breaking news. New hurricane warnings issued for South Florida. Miami bracing for a direct hit from the monster Hurricane Irma. We're going to get the latest from CNN's Weather Center when we come right back.